What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. We have a very special episode for y'all. Today's guest, Angela Gargano, is a four-time American Ninja Warrior. She's a magazine cover girl, speaker, pull-up master, and CEO of Pull-Up Revolution and Strong Feels Good. So today, during the episode, we dive into her experiences with Ninja Warrior, with building her businesses, and some of the most important lessons she's learned from all of her life's adversities, including some of the deeper details of her comeback after tearing her ACL on the American Ninja Warrior course. Angela is an absolute badass human being, and we're super excited to be able to share this episode with y'all. So stay tuned, and we'll see you inside. Obviously, we know who you are, but I would love for you to just kind of like give a very brief introduction of like, who is Angela? What does she do? How did you get to where you are today? And then I have so many questions.
Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, I know it's so funny. So I feel like when people always ask me like who I am and what I do, I always am like, wow, I feel like I've done more than I thought. And someone actually told me the other day, they feel like that I've lived very many lives and that I definitely feel like that's probably true. But I'll give you like the short version of it. So basically went to school actually to be a biochemist. So I actually graduated with a biological chemistry degree. Yes. And then while I was doing that, I was really craving some kind of movement. I had been a college gymnast my entire life. So I'm like, what now? And you think that after like being a college gymnast, you just know what to do in the gym and you know how to work out, but you don't, because you don't have that coach. You don't have that team. You don't have all that like someone telling you what to do. So you go into the gym and you're kind of lost. So I started trying to figure out what could I do to kind of keep myself going in that aspect, because biochemistry, lab coat and goggles is way different than being active and doing gymnastics all the time. So got into fitness competitions, but the ones where you're like kind of flipping around on the stage, and basically because I wanted to do gymnastics still. So I'm like, all right, this is gonna be perfect. So I had to learn how to flip on the stage. I had to learn how to walk in the heels, do all that stuff, things that were way outside my comfort zone. Like not the kind, I'm definitely like a tomboy, don't wear heels, didn't really want to be in a bikini on stage, but I'm like, whatever, like this is going to be the next thing. So did that for a few years, really enjoyed it. But then still same thing, was like kind of looking for that next thing. And I really wanted to eat more food. Honestly. So then I wound up accidentally getting into American Ninja Warrior, which was really interesting. Just wound up putting in a submission video, got on the show. And at that same time, I decided that I was going to leave the biochemistry job and open up my own gym. So I had a gym that I owned in Rhode Island for a couple of years. So did that. And then after that, kept doing American Ninja Warrior, and then went up tearing my ACL on the show, which was on season 10, which is pretty dramatic. And then I realized that like, you know what, I don't know if I want to own a gym. Like owning a gym, it's like once you own a gym, like you need to be there. You need to live there. You're the accountant, you're the janitor, you're everything that you don't think that it's going to be owning a gym, you're doing it. So I decided I was going to shut down the gym, moved to New York City, and really started my full adventure online there. So I transferred everything that I had that I was doing in the gym, and I put it into an online thing. And then, continued to do American Ninja Warrior, travel the world. And it's now just kind of been like that since then. Obviously don't live in New York City anymore because of the, pandemic and stuff like that. So I've been traveling the world a bit. But yeah, have a bunch of successful programs online and just kind of seeing where the world takes me next.
Dude, you have lived like a million lives and you've been everywhere.
Everywhere.
I don't know if you saw my face at one point when you said you opened a gym in Rhode Island. I'm from Rhode Island. Where was your gym?
Cranston.
No way. What was your gym called?
It was called AG Athletics, Angela Gargano Athletics. It was right next to Garden City. Like kind of in the back over there.
Yeah. Oh my God. I probably walked by it like a million times.
You probably did. Yeah.
That is so wild. And
when
did you have that gym?
I keep trying to think back as to when I closed it. I think it was like 2000. Was that 2000? No, it must be 2016, 17 or something.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I definitely walked by it a bunch of times, like when I went home and was shopping for my probably holiday shopping.
But yeah, definitely lived a lot of lives. So when people hear those stories, they're always like, wait, then how old are you? And I'm like, older than you think.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So you kind of like, you have done a lot of different things and you've kind of excelled at a lot of different things. Have you found have you just always been good at stuff like learning how to wake surf in a day?
No, I mean, a lot of this stuff took a long time for me to get good at, right?
I guess that's like something that I think a lot of people struggle with doing is they're worried about taking the chance because they're worried about failing. They're worried about like what's going to happen. was that something you had to learn to be comfortable with, or have you just kind of been this like, let's do it kind of person?
I definitely think you have to learn to get comfortable failing, and not really consider anything technically failing, because along the journey you've learned so much, or you've impacted a ton of people, right? So opening the gym and closing it, I mean, I kind of felt like at one point like I was maybe a failure, but I was also like, you know what, I did it. I was able to impact these people's lives. That's the win. And what did I get out of it? I got so much knowledge. I mean, I got way more knowledge than like a business school would have given me, because I had to figure it out. Right. And the same thing goes for, I have a membership. Well, I had a membership online. I was feeling the same way about it. And I decided like past like a week ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to shut it down, because it's just it's not feeling right for me. And instead of feeling like a failure, same thing. I was like, you know what? I impacted a lot of people. I was able to grow this to a certain amount. And I realized that, you know what, this is maybe not that what I want to do right now. So I think that learning to, realize that it's not technically a failure, even if it doesn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out.
And it's interesting too, that like, there's kind of one side of it where it's like, yeah, you might feel like a failure doing something, but also do you feel like an idiot being like shitty at something? Like if you're bad at something, you're starting from ground one, you're like, I'm 30 years old, I should be like established, you know. I think that holds a lot of people back, because like, if you are willing to just be like, all right, my pride's out the window, I'm going to start this thing over, and maybe I'm shitty at it at first. Like, that's how you, like, how else are you going to start something new, you know?
Absolutely. I think everyone always thinks that you have to, again, stick to one thing, right? I always thought like after college, like I just need to stick to biochemistry forever, and I have no other choice. It's the only thing I can do. It's like, no, you don't have to do that. And again, like you said, that the whole starting over thing, it's tough, but you've learned so much from the next thing, and eventually it's going to click. And I feel like you do find that thing that you're really probably going to stick with the entire time. Whatever I said no to is just leading me to the right thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Time is relative and kind of confusing and deceiving, because it's like you see somebody and you're like, oh, they're 30, you know, I'm turning 32 this year, they're 36. Like time moves really fast, but it also moves slow at the same time. Like 4 years, like think of what you were doing 4 years ago. Like I hadn't even like made a decision, or hadn't even had the idea to do what I'm doing now 4 years ago. And now I'm like pretty far along in like the different things that I'm doing. Like the amount of time, you know, that's a lot of time, like you said, to like learn and make decisions. Do you think that you'll ever settle down?
I don't know. I feel like I like the excitement of kind of being everywhere, but then again, that might be what my next thing is. It might be the fact that I am going to be doing a couple of different things. It doesn't have to be one thing. And knowing that what I'm happy about, like moving, so settling down home wise, I'm happy that I'm in Austin, because I feel like even if I'm floating around and traveling, like I love coming back home. Like I really enjoy this. I like coming back to Austin, right? Whereas other places I was living, I was like, oh, I got to come back here. Oh, it's like, I didn't feel like as great about it. You know what I mean? So knowing that you can do, like, maybe focus on one thing for a little bit, get that going, and then be like, oh, cool, I'm going to try a little bit of this. A lot of times they all kind of feed into each other. Especially what I've noticed, especially with my growth of my Instagram and stuff like that online, a lot of things feed into each other. You do one thing, and then you know what? You can try something else, and it actually, it might work out, because it all kind of like comes hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's another thing that holds people back too, is they feel like this is definitely a super common thought, whether it's like subconscious or people actually, I've heard a lot of people say this, like, if you start over, that means everything you did before, you wasted your time.
Yeah.
That is so wrong. It's like unbelievable. Like you would never be in the position to want to start something new if you hadn't done those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you wouldn't have the skills, like every single thing you do, like for, I think back on like delivering Chinese food. I learned so many skills from delivering Chinese food that I use in my life today. Like, I can't think of a single thing when I really think about it that's like, I wasted my time.
Absolutely. I actually, when you said delivering Chinese food, right? I feel like that brings me back to this job I had in high school, which was, I worked at this place called Pump It Up. It was the inflatable party zone. And I remember it was, it was an inflatable party zone, and I became a party coordinator and a manager or whatever. But I remember the woman there who was just like, at the time you're like, oh my goodness, this woman's crazy. She's making us sit down and do these cold calls with her. And she's having us walk through a script with her. And I remember kind of being annoyed about it, but I look back on that now and I'm like, thank goodness she taught me that. She taught me how to talk to people. I thanked her like a while back. I'm like, you didn't realize how much you actually helped us with whatever we need to do next in our lives.
100%.
Yeah. I think no matter what you do, there's a lesson. And like you guys are talking about, even if it doesn't make sense and you don't understand it while you're doing it all the time, But in retrospect, you can always pick up on like, I learned these skills and I am the person I am today because of it. So I'm curious to kind of dive in and like learn a little bit more about like your Ninja Warrior experience, obviously like starting your fitness coaching business, and then transitioning into online coaching, stuff like that. I think it would be valuable to kind of talk about what you struggled with and what you learned from each of those experiences. So to start with like Ninja Warrior, obviously I can't even imagine how stressful that must have been. Like you're on TV, you're performing not only in front of like the crowd there, but like in front of everyone that's watching at home. I used to watch Ninja Warrior all the time.
Me too.
Yeah, it was so cool. And I always wanted to be able to do it, but now I'm a bodybuilder and it just doesn't make sense. Like physically.
Josh would break the entire thing down.
Break the obstacle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not built for me. I'm not physically built for a warped wall. I know that. But what did you, I mean, I know you said you fell into it. So like it just happened. So it probably happened really fast. What did you struggle with getting into it, your competition experience? What'd you struggle with and what'd you learn?
So the first time I got onto it, like I had 2 weeks to prepare, which is like, I'm like, I got to learn how to ninja in 2 weeks. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I think what I first struggled with, honestly, was that. So at the time, it was a perfect time. I was going through like a massive breakup, which was like kind of like that identity crisis. Like you think that you're supposed to be with this person forever. And I hadn't really done anything on my own. So my biggest struggle was like, oh man, I got to go to this new place by myself. I don't know anybody. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So I think I really was super nervous about that. And honestly, just doing this thing on my own again, with like kind of no support other than like myself, which was it kind of felt weird. But again, that also was great because it teaches you that, you should be able to do these things by yourself. And I was able to meet an amazing amount of people. Learning how to do the actual ninja, that was like a whole other animal also. Like I was like in the back, I went to this place in Rhode Island. Someone had built like an outdoor ninja obstacle course, like in the woods somewhere. So driving like 30 minutes out in the middle of the woods, trying to practice on these obstacles and learning that, just like you said, like starting over of, I'm not that great at this. Like I'm new at this. I don't really know anything about ninja, but then I kept showing up to it and getting better. When I actually got to the course, luckily, I think maybe because I was a gymnast, I felt pretty fine on the stage. I felt pretty great under the lights with the audience. I feel like that's when I turn things up for some reason at every time that I do anything, compete. Travis might know this because he's filmed so much content with me, but it's like, I just kind of like make it happen. So I actually felt pretty confident and good on the course. But when I tore my ACL, that was like the real defeat thing on there. Cause when I went back, it was season 10, I was like really the strongest I've ever been in my entire life. It really made me realize that you really don't know like how much time you have left. You don't know what's going to happen with your life and your body. So you've really got to appreciate every single moment of it. So I feel like that was a key like changing point in my life when I tore my ACL on the TV show, because I was like, wow, you can really go from being up here to down here in seconds. So you better like appreciate and do everything that you want to do in your life right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like the lessons that you learn from these like medical scares or kind of like rock bottom moments. And then there's sometimes when you're on top of the world
and then you get knocked down, you're like, oh,
and you feel invincible, and then it's like, I'm really not invincible, And those are both like, both of those are like very defining moments, I feel like, for a lot of people.
For sure.
Coming back from those moments is challenging too. Cause like, you get knocked off and you get knocked down really hard. And sometimes it's hard to get back up. Like, I think a lot of people struggle with getting back up, and that to them feels like a failure. It doesn't really feel like an obstacle. And instead of responding to it, they react to it. And reactions are so emotional and responses are much more logical. So like when you tore your ACL, and I mean, I can imagine, especially as a fit person, like you had a lot of your identity built around the fact that you were ninja, you were a fit person, you were a coach. What went through your head when it happened? And then like, how'd you get back?
After I was, and again, I feel like people don't fully see some of this stuff, right? Because it's like social media, like shows, only shows bits and pieces.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
I'm good, guys. I'm fine. I didn't fully like show the I'm fine like moments, because right after, like, I definitely was not fine. Like, I really felt like I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I mean, at that point I was owning the gym still. And I was like, what am I going to do? I own this gym. How am I going to run this gym with my leg? How am I going to get surgery? All the stuff that I was doing, like, what am I going to do with myself? So someone gave me some great advice, and they said, it's okay that you're stuck. It's okay if you're feeling stuck right now and you're feeling down. You need to feel everything, like feel it. That's we're humans. Like, you're supposed to feel those things. So feel all of it, but then don't get stuck there. So what's the next thing? What's the actions that you can take? And then I started to think to myself, what are the things that I can do that I am in control of right now? Like, what can I fix that maybe I wasn't able to fix before because I was so focused on my, working out all the time and stuff like that. So for me, I really leaned into going into mindset stuff. So I started journaling more. I started meditation. I know, again, it sounds like all woo-woo-y, whatever, but this stuff was really imperative, and I would do it every single day because you know what? I had the time now, right? So if I couldn't work on my body, I could work on my brain at least. And just trying to figure out what can you now work on if you're down for the count in some other area that you may not have been able to work on before. And it normally turns out to be a blessing in disguise because it's normally stuff that you probably just would never have worked on before.
Yeah. I think every time something like that happens, there's like, we're supposed to learn something. Like, the universe is trying to tell us something. And so maybe you weren't putting as much effort into your mind and your mental health as you should have been. And so, like, you're forced to, and you're kind of guided in a direction. So every time something like that happens, I think the hardest part, but one of the most important things to do, is like take a step back and be like, all right, what is the universe trying to tell me right now? Like, what am I supposed to do? And like you said, what's the action that I can take so that I'm not stuck? So I'm still moving forward in some way. Just because I'm not progressing physically in the gym doesn't mean I can't progress in some other aspect of my life. And you're preaching to the choir as far as like the shadow work, meditation, breath work, gratitudes. Dude, I mean, Travis has just started his meditation journey, and we talk about this stuff all the time. Like, you need positive input into your brain, or else you're gonna just continue to focus on negative things. And you can't just ignore negative things and hope they go away. Like, you have to combat negative things with positivity. So that's a valuable lesson that you learned that I imagine you still do.
Oh yeah. So now I always have that routine. Like, I have these, I call them my non-negotiables. So I always am doing that. I'm journaling and meditating. And I will notice when I'm not doing those couple of things, I do feel a little bit more anxious. Maybe I don't feel as, like you said, present. Maybe I'm like kind of somewhere else. Like, maybe someone's talking to me and I'm like over here because I didn't get a chance to like actually get my brain to settle down for a second. So yeah, I've taken all of that with me. And people ask me like why I did so well on, when I had my comeback, because I came back 11 months later on the show, and they're like, was it the working out? Was it the rehab? And I'm like, you know what, as much as it was some of those things, I was like, it really was this. And there was a lot of people who came on that year who were way better than me, who should have been flown right past the obstacles that I got through. But for me, I had the better mindset, and it came hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. The other things we wanted to talk about was actually kind of what we started talking about here, was like getting into your coaching business and,
It
was, you had torn your ACL and you were kind of like, well, how am I going to still do my coaching business? Like, how am I going to make all this stuff work? So I would love to hear a little bit more about like when you got into fitness coaching, how did that start? Like, when you got into fitness coaching, were you doing in person? Is that when you opened up your gym? Did you just like go all in and open a gym?
No. So yeah, there's definitely more of a process to that. So I I quit my job for biochemistry. I saved up like a couple months rent just to make sure like I had it. And then I was coaching gymnastics at a gymnastics gym, just again to like have some money coming in and just doing something. And the owner there had told me that I could teach fitness classes to the adults. So it was kind of good because she already had an email list, she already had all these people, and I'm like, cool, I can just grab the parents and start, coaching the parents. So I started with the boot camp classes there. And it was funny because for a while, like I think months, there was like 2 people coming to bootcamp classes. That's it. And I'm like, what did I do? Oh, wow. Why did I quit? What is happening? And then for some reason, I don't know what happened. It just kind of started taking off. And all of a sudden there was like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then started to be able to have like these bigger groups there. Until I created like a full community there. And then once I had the entire community there, it just made sense. I was like, all right, it's time for me to like try and have my own. I mean, that's what you think, right? You think to yourself, oh, I have a bunch of one-on-one clients. I have a bunch of group people classes. What's the next step? Obviously you want to open a gym because right. I can't just think like, small. I have to think like bigger. So, I opened the gym after that. And then, like I said, quickly kind of realized that like, this is hard, like owning the gym and having all this responsibility. And I just feel like always having people like kind of like leaning on you, which again is fine. I think that every trainer, especially if you're going to have an online business, you really should be doing it in person first and really understanding how people work and things like that. So I'm happy that I did the whole like 5 a.m. training people thing to 8 p.m. training thing for like a while. And then I was like, this is not the life I want to live. This is not sustainable. So when I tore my ACL, I went up shutting down the gym, and then I went up taking a course on how to create online content and stuff like that, and to be able to do make my own program. And at first I was selling high ticket stuff. So, very high ticket. I can't remember how much money it was, but you do all the sales calls and like all the stuff like that. And basically like convince these people that, I'm going to give you so much value to come in. So I was able to get a good amount of people actually into that, which allowed me to sustain whatever I was doing. But same sense, like, started doing that for a while, and I was like, this is just like a lot. Like, I just don't want it. I don't want these people leaning on me all the time. Like, again, I love it. And I think coaching is, I really commend anybody who's doing the coaching stuff, but it can drain you, especially when you really want to like give them your all, make sure they're getting everything that they need or whatever. So did that for a while. And then again, realized that like, I don't want to have somebody having to talk to these people every single week. And, all the problems are coming in on me and programming all the workouts and stuff like that. And then it shifted into, and this is super random, but it shifted into people wanted to learn how to do pull-ups. So then I went up teaching pull-ups to women online and I came up with the whole entire system for that. And that's became like my main thing. My main source of income for a very long time was just teaching women pull-ups online. It was one skill they had to do. I sent out one program. I made some adjustments. So slowly it's getting smarter with how I was doing this programming stuff, because writing individual plans for every single person all the time can be a lot. Yes, I'm sure you know. Yeah. It can be a lot, especially people they don't see the work that goes into it. They don't see that we're not just like putting together random things. Like I'm really thinking about you as a person, what you can do. That's like, there's a lot that goes into it. Created that. And then pandemic hit, and luckily I already had it all online. So I was ready to go. Like that it just kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. I think the most interesting part of that to me is like the transition into that one very fine-tuned niche of teaching women how to do pull-ups. Like when you first started coaching, if someone told you, why don't you just teach women how to do pull-ups? You'd be like, you're crazy. Like that's why that would never work. Why would that ever work? So did you, like, as you continue to fine tune, you're obviously taking things that you learned from every single endeavor that you went on, that you encountered. And I mean, you're probably working less than you were and helping more people because you're getting so specific.
Exactly. I was able to definitely like, and also like it makes you stand out a lot more when you're like kind of like an expert in your field at like one thing. But again, same thing there, I realized with the coaching, right? People love doing it because they love coaching with me. I realized, I'm going to turn this into a more evergreen, do it on yourself product, but a program, which I'm happy I did all the coaching. Cause again, that was like years of fine tuning that programming over and over and over again until I got it like exactly the way I wanted. And now people can just buy it and they do it on their own and they see the results. They just do it. They just follow it. That's like all they have to do. But yeah, like you said, like working less. I feel like I always grew up with this like kind of hustle mindset, this hustle culture or whatever. And like, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing like, I want to be able to do things that you said, impact more people where I'm not like falling apart during it. Because again, people don't realize that we're human, right? They look at us as way differently. And I'm like, no, we're human and we're trying to get this stuff together for you and stuff like that as well. So I didn't want like all the pulling and stuff like that, which again, this is exactly what is happening with Strong Feels Good right now, which is the subscription I had. It was too much. It was just like constantly having to put new content out there and having people pull on you. And then it's fine. Like, what if we just sell it as a full program? And, people will be able to get the amazing programming that all these people went through and that was fine tuned and everything like that.
For the people who are like either entrepreneurs, freelancers, or aspiring to do that or interested in that sort of thing, do you think that it's important that people find their niche? As in like, let's use me as an example. I'm a videographer. Like, should I be a videographer or should I be like the videographer that helps ninja warriors build YouTube channels. You know what I mean? Like
I don't think
there's
it
like
has
the
to
thing that
necessarily
does,
be, I don't think it has to necessarily be that. You know what I mean? I think that it's good to have maybe one thing that to kind of get people in the door, like, right? Because like pull-ups, people come to me, they're like, oh, she's a pull-up girl, right? That's great, right? Then they come in the door for that, and then they might see those other things that I'm doing. So I don't think it necessarily has to be one thing, but definitely something that makes you stand out compared to like the other people. Because again, I mean, some people get really fine-tuned with their niche, and I think that's great. But just like we were saying before, like I get really fine-tuned with Pull-Up Revolution. And then it was like, all right, like people will now, they trust me, so they're going to buy all the other stuff. Right. So it's just like, you can start there, but you don't have to like necessarily stay there and become so obsessed with it, especially after a while. Again, people get burnt out. If it's like the same thing over and over again, like you can burn yourself out and not enjoy it anymore.
I think that's an important thing to know, is that, you know, when you were talking about having that one thing, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, when they get started out, they think that has to be like a low barrier offer. Mm-hmm. So was Pull-Up Revolution, was that a low barrier offer, or was that just like the one thing that you marketed, that you put out, that people knew you for, and that got the attention to then get their eyes on the other things that you have to offer?
Exactly. That's what it was. It was Pull-Up Revolution. Yeah. It wasn't only Pull-Up Revolution, but I also created another program called Core Revolution. So that was because when I was training people on women's health on the Instagram feed, when the pandemic happened, it was crazy. I was literally like on this Instagram feed, there's like 2,000 or 3,000 people who were taking my classes like during the pandemic. And They kept saying to me like, oh, I have back pain. Oh, I'm feeling core exercises in my legs. And I'm like, I feel like this is a good opportunity. So I was like, okay, cool. So I literally was like, all right, I'm going to create a core program. And I put it out there. This is so funny. I made an offer. I didn't have a program made at all. But I knew I could make one. I'm like, I could make one. So I said, hey, we have this core program coming out. It's going to come out in 30 days. This is going to help you so you don't feel the back pain. I was literally like going back to what they were saying specifically. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I had like 500 people buy it. And I was like, I didn't even make it yet. I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to make it with you. So I like made it with them. And now that's like one of my top selling programs. People will come in, they'll be like, oh, cool, we'll do the Core Revolution program, or we'll do the Pull-Up program. And then after, they're like, oh, I guess we really like Angela. Maybe we'll do, Pull-Up Revolution after like that. We'll do like the Strong Feels Good program after that. So it all started with those little things. I also like started to realize, right, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So basically, like for me, for a while, I was pushing my membership a lot, and nobody was buying it. That's the world telling you that like, all right, people don't want this like right now. Maybe they don't trust you, like in something like that. Then I threw out the Core Evolution program again the other day and sold another like 150 of them. And it was just like easy because people were like, oh, that's what I want. So I'm like, all right, cool. We get them in the door through that. And then, you try and figure out what people want also, because again, if you keep, pushing that one thing that's like not working, it's okay to be like, all right, what can we do that is going to work so that we can get them where we want to get them?
Mm-hmm. How do you find what people want? Is it just like, do you feel like you're kind of stabbing around in the dark or taking like educated guesses? Are you just doing like a lot of different things, or do you have kind of like techniques for getting information from people?
Yeah. So for a while, what we had was, I just had like a questionnaire, like a type form questionnaire, which is great because you collect their email as well. But it was like, you collect their email and I just ask them questions. I had a free thing also. So I have like a free core program and a 6-day free pull-up thing. But as soon as they register for that, I had a questionnaire for them. And then I would go in that questionnaire. It's a type form. If you guys probably have used type form before, you go in type form, and then I had literally all their answers right there. And I would just find it. And I started seeing the same similarities, the same things they were saying. And then for a while also, that's how I was making my content. I was just answer all their questions. Like, oh, their question here was, there was a million, how do you stay motivated? So I'm like, all right, perfect. Oh my God, I'll talk about how you stay motivated video. There's a ton of like, oh, I'm feeling back pain from my core exercises. I'm like, got you. Then I just kept, just doing that over and over again. Or I can't get off the pull-up band. I've been trying to get off the pull-up band. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Made the answer to that. So I use the type form, and it's crazy. I have like thousands of those. So I have like I just kept putting it out there and asking. Just kind of see what they wanted. Then I also started asking too about like pricing and stuff, right? Because I started seeing, people aren't buying this. Like, why not? Like, hey, what are you willing to pay? Like, what are you seriously? Really? How do you what are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay? And I had it on there like, hey, they have different programs. So I'm curious, are you willing to pay $40? Are you willing to pay, $599? Some people are different, right? So you can start to see there too, and measure like, oh, most of these people, they don't want to pay $500 on a program right now. They want to pay like $30. Okay, cool. Maybe we can take advantage of that then and give them something for $30 with value.
Yeah. And if you give them something $30 for value, then it just so happens that it turned into an evergreen product that you don't have to work as hard for. and you get hundreds of people in on a $30 product rather than, a dozen or two people on a $500 product.
Exactly. And again, it depends on what you want to do, right? Some people are really into like, they want to sell their $5,000 high ticket program, but that's what they don't show you is like, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get those 5 people for $5,000 to do your program. And if you're willing to do that and you want to do that, go for it. That could be a perfect system for you. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to sit on the phone and try and convince you to buy it. Like, just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's probably, there's like different, there's probably people who are like, I just want to do this me, and I don't want to manage people or have systems to manage having like hundreds of clients. And I love doing sales and I love working with like a couple people. So that makes sense for me. And then on the other side, it's maybe like, I really don't want to be like, like, I don't really like doing like the phone call thing, but I love managing like groups of people and I want to like impact a larger number of people. There's different, like one way isn't necessarily, the way. I feel like it's like probably more in line with, what works for you specifically.
It's so important to realize that too, right? You're going to get a lot of advice from a lot of people. They're going to tell you their ways, their things and stuff like that. You have to do what works for you. I've tried so many different things. I've had so many people say to me, you should just do high ticket. You should just high ticket. You know what? It doesn't work for me because I don't want to do that. Like, and that's okay. You don't need to do that.
How about that?
You don't want to. And it's literally okay. And this is your life. This is you're able to create your reality and the way you want to live your life and how you want to run your business. And that's fine. Again, things work different for different people. You have to figure out what works well for you. Again, I realized for me, subscription model, not feeling it. I don't want to do it. Like, that's okay.
Yeah. Also for those people like aspiring or interested in like entrepreneurship, that's like such a good point. And I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like figuring out how to do something or what to do is like an Easter egg hunt kind of. It's like you need to go around and get as much information from as many people as possible, but like don't listen to just one person, like there's going to be a lot of people who really loudly and confidently say things. And it's like, they're probably not wrong, but they're not necessarily right for you. And you really need to learn how to like learn things. Like learning how to learn things is like pretty much the only skill that you need. And don't just blindly do what people tell you to do or blindly think what people tell you to think. It's like, go out and get every single different opinion. Like if you don't like someone's opinion, still listen to it. And you put together that Easter egg hunt for yourself.
Absolutely. And that's like a big thing. And especially that's going to be next for my next journey of like my starting over, I guess, for my membership, right? I'm still going to be selling my products. Like I'm going to have all these products that people can buy. And again, I feel like it does really well just by like talking about it here or there. And then I get people to buy, the full program and stuff like that. Again, all I know I'm hands off now. It's great. My next journey is the speaking and the brand partnerships, right? I've gotten a lot of brand partnerships. Travis has actually worked with me with my Under Armour one, which went from 1 month to 3 months. And now I'm doing 6 months with them, which is awesome. And I'm, thinking in my head, how can I get like 4 more of these partnerships, right? It's a whole new animal. Everyone has a different way of doing that, right? But, main way for that, is again, I'm reaching out to the people that I know and I'm asking them what they've done. And I'm going to figure out the best way that's going to work for me.
That's another really good point right there. Like I've heard as you've been talking, you've referenced a number of times and like, I know this already about you, but I'm just like hearing the words. It just kind of remind me of it. You're like, I'm reaching out to the people that I know, or, you mentioned it like during your injury, you've kind of said like multiple times, alluded to like, a lot of really awesome people. And to me, it seems like a lot of your success has come from like being able to build a really good network and being able to have like friends that are doing really well in, all kinds of different areas of life and like learning from those people. Do you feel like that's been like a, important part of being who you are today, like your success, like, and how is that something that you just kind of like bump into people and become super good friends with them? Or like, do you purposely go out and like meet people? Like what do you like?
Yeah. I did when I was in New York City, I had nothing, I didn't know what I was doing. I would go to all the classes that I knew the people that I wanted to be with or hanging out.
Yeah.
I would just go. and I would just be myself. I would go and I've never asked for anything. I never go in there like looking or asking for anything. I go in there to establish a real relationship, ask them how they're doing, what they're working out, what are they working on? Like, how can I help you? So yeah, I definitely feel like I've established real relationships. And then they also, they'll see that you're hustling and they'll want to be around you too, but you definitely want to put yourself in the room with those people who are doing the things that you want to do. So like when I said the brand partnership thing, right? I know tons of friends that I'd met throughout the city who are doing them. Why not ask them, hey, can we get coffee? Like, I just want to catch up and see how you're doing. And then also just kind of chat about what you were doing. And you're not necessarily asking for anything, but a lot of times those people will be like, oh, actually it'd be a really good idea if you did this, or, oh, I have a really good connection for you. You should actually talk to this person. So it's never going in and be like, hey, let's get coffee. I want to pick your brain and then ask you for a bunch of things. It's like, let's have a real conversation and just talk about what we're doing right now and just kind of see what happens. But yes, relationships are huge. If you want to do a certain thing, be in the room with those people. At the end of the day, we're all just people, right? It's not, I think at first, when I first came into New York City, I'm like, they're like on a pedestal and
yeah,
I've been following them on Instagram. They did all this stuff. No, they're just a person too. They have real life problems. They have real life issues. They're just trying to figure it out too.
I think the coolest part about that, just like the whole concept of everybody is just human. We're all just people. And if I've identified some people that like you might want to learn from or might want to like be in the presence of, or just learn more about what they've done or how they've done it. Dude, people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
And that's like really flattering for people to like, I'm sure, reach out to them and be like, hey, I just want to like talk to you about like what you've done. Like you've done some really cool shit. And I just want to, and honestly, that's part of why I love this podcast is like, we get to do that all the time. And that's super flattering on their part. So it like, especially if you frame it that way, you're just trying to learn from them by asking them about some cool stuff that they've done. And I'm sure they would love to talk about it.
Absolutely. Exactly. Okay, if you go in though, and you're really forceful, like let's say you just DM someone on Instagram and basically asking for something right away, like it comes off real bad. Like I've had a bunch of people do that to me sometimes. And I'm like, you kidding me? You didn't even ask me how my day was. And you're asking me to like do this one thing for you. Like, come on, like, let's rethink about that first. Like ask someone how their day is, like something like that. Don't just like, can you give this to me? I need this and that. Like, no, like that's not how it's going to work. You have to really think about that when you're. That's
another thing is like, if you're constantly reaching out to someone and all you're doing is asking them for things, like you're probably not going to get much out of it. Like you like develop a relationship. Like be interested in that person, be interested in what they're doing, how their day is. If like, something happened in their life, ask them if they're doing okay. Like, and then if you want to ask them about something that they did, like they're going to be much more willing to help you because you've like contributed to the relationship in some sort of way.
You've given them value. Like think about it, go in and be like, I'm not trying to get value from them. I'm trying to give them some value or something along those lines. I remember when I was training, not only the editor-in-chief of Women's Health, but I also was training this famous photographer, Jake Rosenberg. He's awesome. And I was training him for free for months, but I'm training them for free, just getting to know them, just training them, whatever. And then at one point with Jake, I said, I really wanted to do this thing called Pop Sugar. Cause he'll ask you like, oh, what are you trying to do? I'm like, oh, I'm trying to go on Pop Sugar. It's like, oh, I know the owner. Let me link you up on an email. Like, oh shit. Okay. Didn't think that was going to happen. Okay.
That's super cool. So how much of your networking and would you say you've done like through this sort of, I guess, just avenue of like going and just meeting people and wanting to provide value, coaching people for free? And how much would you say is just because of like the other things that you've accomplished in your life from the gym, Ninja Warrior, your coaching business and things like that?
I mean, it definitely helps, right? Because it's like, I'll go meet these people and then like maybe they'll follow me on Instagram and be like, oh, she like has done some shit. You know what I mean? So like it definitely like helps along those lines. But yeah, I mean, a big part of it before I had any of those things, before I had a blue check mark on Instagram, before I had any of that stuff, I was doing this, establishing relationships, was doing things for free. Again, you might've seen people see it as like a glamorous lifestyle. If she's in the New York City, she's going on the train, she's going back and forth. I'm like, I'm training these people for free. Like I put the hustle in, and it's kind of like, it makes me think back to my friend's a stunt double, right? And people are always like, Angela, you should do some more stunt doubling. I'm like, you don't see the hustle that these stunt doubles have to do, which is basically what you have to do with a lot of different things. They have to go on sets for free and chill with the producers and do all that stuff before they actually get, taken in to do, to do stunts and stuff like that. So, yeah, I definitely think that, again, it's a lot of stuff that you don't see the hustle. I'm not saying do everything for free, but like there's certain things that you might need to do in order to, kind of like prove yourself, show yourself, show who you are, show the hustle that you have. Don't just expect things to be like handed to you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's even necessarily like, I'm a huge fan of like doing things for free. Like I'll probably still do things for free here and there, like, you know, forever. But I think that it's more do something. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are like, all right, I want to start doing this thing. So now I'm going to like go to networking events and force people into like conversations. And it's like, dude, like, I mean, I just think a great place to start is like, go do something, you know, like what have you done? Like, have you actually like done anything? Like that's probably like a really good place to start. Cause like you said, like anybody can kind of like finagle themselves into certain rooms, but you know, if like, you kind of have to be able to like talk to the people. So I think like one really good place to start from is like, yeah, literally like go do something, like actually accomplish something. And then that stuff's probably going to get easier. And then another thing is, this is like the importance of making sure that what you're doing is something that you really like. Cause like people ask you all the time, like, how do you stay motivated? And it's like, motivation's like not really like a real thing, but I think that a big portion of like what creates the success is that this is the stuff that you like. Like you can go to these gyms and genuinely connect with these people because you're not going there with the mentality of like, I need to like connect with these people. It's like you literally are their friend already. They just don't know it yet. You know, it's all genuine, 100% genuine. Like I am actually interested in what this person has to say, and I literally want to help them do that. That's like a big defining thing. Like you're not selling anything. You're just literally being yourself. And so it's like, you need to be in those circles that you already know you're going to like mesh with, if that makes sense.
For sure. No, I totally agree with that. Cause you can kind of tell if someone's in there and they're like, not really like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Totally. And I've had jobs where it's like, you know, it's my job and like, I have to go do these things and it just doesn't feel right, you know, and isn't until like more recently that I've been like, yeah, I'm actually like, these are like the people that I like and that I get along with and stuff. And like, that's crucial.
And you'll like thrive in that environment.
Yeah. That's a cool thing to remember, I think, for people who get nervous to like network or approach people. If you're doing the things that you love, and, you know, for us example, if we're in the gym and we see somebody else who we're like you said, Angela, kind of like put up on a pedestal, like, oh my God, they're like so cool. They like are doing all these cool things. Like you're basically already friends. That's like the best way to put it, Travis, is like, you're basically already friends. You already have a lot in common. You're doing the same things. Like the only thing that hasn't happened is you haven't actually met.
Yeah.
So go meet and be friends with that person because you're already tight. Like you know that. That's a really good thing to remember. And I think could probably calm some social anxiety for people who were like nervous to say hi.
Yeah.
No, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. That's really cool. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have to go somewhere soon. So.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're good.
But this is so great. I mean, I can talk to you guys like all day.
No, you're good. Well, we will, because you're in Austin now. So like,
let's let me connect. We'll get together. We'll get to work. Why don't you can take me to do some bodybuilding.
We'll take you to, we'll take you to do some bodybuilding and you'll take us to do some like ninja warrior stuff. Yeah. We'll see if I still have it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm 100 pounds heavier than I used to be. So, but yeah, no, it would be super cool to connect. And obviously Travis, if you get down here,
I'm going to come soon. Yeah.
All right, cool. Soon. We'll do some shoots.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
We'll all hang. That'll be awesome. Well, Angela, welcome to Austin. Super exciting.
Thank you.
I guess before we leave, I want to let you go, but just like quick final last words of like advice for our listeners. And then like, where can we find you?
Yeah. Okay. So two things. So the one thing I've been telling to a lot of people is because someone said this to me, they said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So always remember that, especially when you're on your journey. Like, it's not like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen for you. It's just a matter of time. So just keep hustling and doing what you're doing right now. And then you guys can find me on Instagram at Angela_Gargano, Gargano. You can message me on there anytime. That's where you can mainly find me. I obviously have a YouTube channel as well that that Travis and I were working on and stuff like that. But the main source is coming onto my Instagram, but feel free to message me with any questions that you might have. Or what I love when people, tell me their takeaway from the episode of whatever podcast they listened to was. There's a takeaway from this. You're like, that really resonated with me. I really love to hear that.
Awesome. I love that.
Send
as well.
that to us too.
Yeah. Send that to us too. We love to hear that too. We love
Yeah.
connecting with you guys. So, man, I highly recommend y'all follow Angela. She's an absolute badass human being, and give her a follow. Let us know what you like about this episode. And thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Struggle to Strength podcast. We will see y'all next week.
Peace.